The chamber was massive, bigger than any stadium James Park had ever seen on Earth. Thousands of beings filled the observation decks, their eyes fixed on the platform below. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with soft light. James stood in line with 246 other cadets, all waiting for their turn with the scanner. He was the last one in line, the only human. The scanner looked like a giant metal ring standing upright in the center of the platform. Blue light pulsed through it in steady waves. For the past 3 hours, James had watched every cadet walk through it. Each time, the scanner hummed, displayed some symbols, and let them pass. Simple. Easy. Nothing special. Admiral Kevroth stood beside the scanner, his reptilian features twisted in concentration. His scales were deep green, and his eyes never blinked. He had run this ceremony for 20 years, and nothing had ever gone wrong. The scanner always worked perfectly. Next, Kevroth's voice echoed through the chamber. A tall alien with 4 arms walked through. The scanner hummed. Green light. Pass. The crowd clapped their various appendages together. Next, another cadet, this one floating instead of walking. The scanner hummed again. Green light. Pass. More applause. James wiped his sweaty palms on his uniform. His heart pounded in his chest. He had trained for 2 years to get here. Earth had sent only one candidate to the Galactic Defense Academy, and he was it. The pressure sat on his shoulders like a heavy weight. Dr. Lisa Chen stood in the observation deck with Commander Marcus Kim. Both wore Earth's diplomatic colors. Lisa leaned forward, her fingers gripping the railing. Marcus stood rigid, his military training keeping him calm, even though his jaw was tight. "He'll be fine," Marcus whispered. Lisa nodded but didn't look convinced. Down on the platform, the line grew shorter. 20 cadets left, then 10. James noticed the other cadets glancing at him. Some looked curious, others looked worried. A few whispered to each other, their alien languages creating a symphony of strange sounds. Next, Kevroth called. The last alien cadet walked through. The scanner hummed its familiar tune. Green light. Pass. The cadet joined the others on the far side of the platform, all of them now official members of the academy. The chamber fell silent. James took a deep breath and stepped forward. His boots clicked on the metal floor. Every eye in the massive room watched him. He could feel their stares, like physical touches on his skin. "Cadet James Park of Earth," Kevroth announced. His voice was formal, but James thought he heard something else there too. Curiosity, maybe. Or doubt. James walked toward the scanner. The blue light reflected off his face. Up close, the ring was even bigger than he thought. He could walk through it with his arms stretched wide and not touch the sides. "Please step through," Kevroth said. James nodded. He put one foot forward, then the other. He entered the scanner's ring. The blue light surrounded him. It felt warm, like standing in sunshine. The humming grew louder. James closed his eyes and waited for the green light. The humming changed. It became a high-pitched whine that made James's teeth hurt. He opened his eyes and saw the blue light flickering. Red sparks appeared inside the ring. The symbols on the scanner's surface spun wildly. Then everything stopped. The light froze. The humming cut off. Red lights exploded across the scanner's surface. Alarms blared. Emergency protocols activated throughout the station. Metal shutters began to close over the observation decks. Security drones flew into the chamber, their weapons charging. James stood frozen inside the scanner. He didn't know what to do. "Step back," Kevroth shouted. His hand was on his weapon. James quickly walked backward out of the scanner. His heart felt like it might burst from his chest. The scanner's display showed words in the Galactic Common Language. James couldn't read them, but he understood from the reactions around him that they weren't good words. "Impossible," Kevroth whispered. He stared at the display like it had personally insulted him. In the observation deck, Lisa grabbed Marcus's arm. What does it say? Marcus's face had gone pale. He had studied galactic languages longer than Lisa. It says, pattern unrecognizable. Threat assessment undefined. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Some pointed at James. Others ran for the exits. The security drones surrounded him, their weapons aimed at his chest. I didn't do anything, James said, raising his hands. A tall alien in diplomatic robes stood up in the observation deck. His voice boomed across the chamber. The human must be quarantined immediately. We cannot allow an undefined threat into the academy. Other voices joined in agreement. Quarantine. Remove it. Earth should not be trusted. Lisa pushed her way down to the main floor. Marcus followed close behind. They reached the security perimeter around James, just as more guards arrived. You will not touch him, Lisa said firmly. She stood between James and the nearest guard, her small frame somehow commanding respect. We demand to review the data before any action is taken. Kevrath looked torn. His duty was clear, but his honor prevented him from acting without evidence. Dr. Chen. The scanner has never failed. It has processed 10 million cadets over 3,000 years. If it says there is a threat, it says undefined, Marcus interrupted, not confirmed threat. Just undefined. That means the scanner doesn't know what it found. Not that it found something dangerous. Not. The diplomatic alien descended to the platform. His robes swept the floor as he walked. Earth has been part of the Galactic Council for only 5 years. We know nothing about your species. This irregularity proves we were right to be cautious. James finally found his voice. I'm just a pilot. I served in Earth's Marines for 6 years. I've never done anything that would... Rive. Silence, the alien commanded. You do not speak here. Lisa's eyes flashed with anger, but she kept her voice level. Representative Thex, we request a formal review. 3 days. Give us 3 days to analyze the data. If there is truly a threat, we will cooperate fully. But you cannot condemn someone based on a scanner malfunction. Thex's alien features showed disgust. Malfunction? The scanner does not malfunction. Then let us prove it, Marcus said. Kevrath looked at the scanner, then at James, then at the crowd. Finally, he made his decision. 3 days. The human will remain under observation in the research facility. No contact with other cadets. Armed guards at all times. He turned to James. If you resist, we will consider it proof of hostile intent. James nodded slowly. I understand. As security led him away, James looked back at the scanner. The red lights still pulsed across its surface. In 3,000 years, it had never done this. Why him? What had it seen inside his head that scared it so much? The galaxy was watching now, and Earth's future depended on finding answers. The research facility sat 3 levels below the academy, buried in solid rock. James had been here for 2 days now. 2 days of tests, scans, and questions. 2 days of scientists poking at his brain with their instruments, while he tried to stay calm. Dr. Rachel Kim was the lead researcher. Despite her human name, she was Antheri, a species that looked like tall, slender beings made of silver light. Her voice sounded like bells chiming when she spoke. Please focus on the screen, she said gently. James stared at the monitor in front of him. Random shapes appeared and disappeared. Circles, squares, triangles. No pattern he could see. What am I supposed to do? He asked. Just watch. Your brain will do the rest. James watched for 10 minutes. The shapes meant nothing to him. But according to the instruments attached to his head, his brain was doing something interesting. Very interesting. Lisa stood behind the observation glass with Marcus and 3 other alien scientists. They had been watching James for hours. The data streaming across their screens made no sense at first. Now, slowly, they were beginning to understand, and it frightened them. Look at this. Lisa pointed to a specific readout. When the shapes appear, James's brain doesn't follow a single pathway. It creates thousands of possible patterns simultaneously. Then, a Velcro scientist leaned closer. His scales were blue instead of green, marking him as a scholar rather than a warrior. But that is impossible. Thought requires linear processing. One pathway to one conclusion. Not for humans, Lisa said quietly. Marcus pulled up comparison data. Look at the other species. Velcros show direct tactical processing. And theory show networked groupthink. Morvians show pure mathematical calculation. Every species has a pattern, a way their brains work. And humans? The Velcro scientist asked. Chaos, Marcus said. Controlled chaos. Inside the testing room, James finished another exercise. This time, they gave him a puzzle box that had stumped every other species. The solution required following a specific sequence of moves in exact order. It took most species 30 minutes to solve it after they understood the pattern. James picked it up, turned it around a few times, and then started moving pieces randomly. At least, it looked random. His hands moved without hesitation, choosing different pieces each time. Within 3 minutes, the box opened. Rachel's silver form shimmered with surprise. How did you solve it? James shrugged. I don't know. I just felt which pieces to move. Felt? Yeah. Like an instinct or something. Rachel made notes on her tablet. This was the 5th time James had used words like feeling or instinct or gut reaction to explain his choices. He couldn't describe the logical process because there wasn't one. His brain simply knew. During a break, Lisa was allowed to speak with James privately. They sat across from each other at a metal table. Guards stood by the door, weapons ready. How are you holding up? Lisa asked. I've been better, James said with a tired smile. Lisa hesitated. She wasn't supposed to share the research findings yet. But James deserved to know. Your brain works differently than any other species we've encountered. Different how? Other species think in straight lines or networks. Velcros calculate combat probabilities in sequence. And theories share thoughts across their collective consciousness. Morvians solve mathematical problems by following logical steps. And humans? You don't follow steps. You somehow process everything at once and pick the best answer without knowing why it's best. James frowned. That sounds like guessing. It's not guessing. It's something else. Something we don't have words for yet. Lisa leaned forward. Tell me about your time in the Marines. You received 3 commendations for actions under fire. What happened? James looked uncomfortable. Just did my job. James, please. This is important. He sighed. Okay. One time, we were on patrol, on Titan Station. Everything seemed normal. But something felt wrong. I couldn't explain it. The streets were too quiet. Maybe, or the way people were walking. I don't know. But I ordered my squad to take a different route. And the route we were supposed to take had an ambush waiting. 20 hostiles with heavy weapons. We would have walked right into it. But we didn't. Because I felt something was wrong. How did you know? I didn't know. I just felt it. Lisa nodded slowly. That's what makes the scanner afraid. You operate on principles it can't measure. While James rested, David Lee worked 3 corridors away. He was Earth's intelligence officer, officially here as an observer. Unofficially, he was digging through every database he could access without triggering security alerts. The scanner had bothered him from the start. Technology that advanced didn't appear from nowhere. Someone built it. Someone programmed it. And someone decided what counted as a threat. After 2 days of searching, David found something. A classified file buried in the Academy's oldest archives. The file was written in a dead language that took him 6 hours to translate. The scanner wasn't built by any current galactic species. It was built by the architects, an ancient race that disappeared 5,000 years ago. They left behind technology scattered across the galaxy, including the scanner. But they left something else too. A warning. David read the translated text 3 times to make sure he understood it correctly. Then, he went to find Lisa and Marcus. He found them in the observation room, still watching James sleep through the monitors. David waited until the other scientists left before speaking. "We have a problem," he said, sealing the door behind him. Marcus turned. "What kind of problem?" David pulled up the files on his tablet. The scanner was built by the architects. They were the first advanced civilization in this galaxy. They spread across thousands of worlds and built incredible technology. "We know this," Lisa said impatiently. "What's your point?" "My point is, they left a warning in their database. One specific warning that nobody paid attention to because nobody understood what it meant." David showed them the translated text. It says, "Beware the paradox minds. They ended us. They will end you." The room went silent. Marcus read the text carefully. "Paradox minds. What does that mean?" "I think it means minds that don't follow predictable patterns," David said. "Minds that operate on principles the architects couldn't understand or control. Minds like James's." Lisa felt cold despite the warm room. "Are you saying the architects encountered humans before?" "No. But I think they encountered another species with similar brain patterns. And whatever happened between them was bad enough that the architects programmed their scanner to flag any similar patterns as threats." "The architects disappeared 5,000 years ago," Marcus said. "No one knows what happened to them. Maybe we just found out," David said grimly. Outside the observation room, Representative Thex stood with a group of other diplomats. They had been listening through the security feeds. Thex's expression was grim. "We must act," he said. "If humans carry the same patterns that destroyed the architects, they cannot be allowed to spread through the galaxy." "We need more information," another diplomat argued. "We have all the information we need," Thex said. "The architects were more advanced than us. They had technology we still cannot replicate. And something with paradox minds destroyed them. Or they destroyed themselves out of fear," the other diplomat said. "Perhaps the architects attacked first, and both sides lost. Perhaps. But are you willing to risk it?" The group fell silent. Fear had a way of making even the wisest beings make foolish choices. In his cell, James woke from a nightmare. He had dreamed of cities burning and people screaming. In the dream, everyone blamed him for something he didn't do, something he couldn't prevent. He sat up and put his head in his hands. Through the window, he could see the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity waited for news. His little brother was probably watching the broadcasts. His mother, the Admiral, was certainly making plans. James had wanted to be a bridge between Earth and the galaxy. He wanted to prove humans could work alongside other species. Instead, he might have doomed humanity before they even got started. The scanner hummed somewhere above him. Even now, scientists studied its data, trying to understand what it saw inside his head, trying to determine if he was dangerous. James hoped they found answers soon. Because in the observation room, he could see the guards, and their weapons were pointed at him, not away from potential threats. Time was running out. The research vessel Hawking hung in space like a silver needle against the black. Captain Michael Park stood on the bridge, watching the ancient ruins grow larger on the main screen. His younger brother was in trouble, and these ruins might hold the only answers that could save him. "Approaching the site now, Captain," the navigator said. Michael nodded. "Take us in slow. I don't want to trigger any defensive systems." The ruins belonged to the architects. They floated in dead space, far from any star system. Most people forgot they existed. But David Lee's investigation had found references to this place in old records. If anywhere held answers about the paradox minds, it would be here. Dr. Emily Johnson worked at her station, analyzing the structures as they approached. She was Earth's best archaeologist, someone who had spent her whole career studying dead civilizations. Her hands moved quickly across the controls. "I'm detecting power signatures," she said, surprised. "After 5,000 years, something is still active down there. Is it dangerous?" Michael asked. "Unknown. But we didn't come all this way to turn back now." On the station where James waited, Ambassador Vincent Kim fought a different battle. He stood in the council chamber, facing representatives from 47 species. Most of them wanted James quarantined permanently. Some wanted worse. "The evidence is clear," Representative Thex said. "The architects warned us about mines like this. We must act before Earth becomes a threat." Vincent kept his voice calm even though anger burned in his chest. "You're condemning an entire species based on a warning you don't understand." The architects disappeared. "We don't know what happened to them. Maybe they were wrong. Or maybe they were right, and they paid the price for not acting quickly enough," Thex replied. A small alien with blue skin stood up. She was from the Praxi species, known for their careful logic. Ambassador Kim raises a valid point. "We do not have complete information. Should we not wait for the research to conclude?" "We have waited 3 days," Thex said. "How much more time does Earth need?" Vincent was about to respond when his communicator buzzed. A message from the Hawking. He read it quickly, and his eyes widened. "Give me 1 more day," Vincent said. "Captain Park has found something at the Architect ruins. Something that might explain everything." The council erupted in argument. Some demanded immediate action. Others wanted to see what the Hawking discovered. Finally, the council chair, an ancient being named Alexander, raised one crystalline hand. "Silence." Alexander's voice rumbled like mountains moving. "Ambassador Kim, you have until tomorrow's session. If your ship does not produce meaningful answers, we will proceed with quarantine protocols." Vincent bowed. "Thank you, Chair." As the council dismissed, Vincent sent a message to Michael. "You have 24 hours. Make them count." Inside the ruins, Michael led a team through corridors that hadn't seen life in millennia. Their lights cut through the darkness, revealing walls covered in strange symbols. Emily recorded everything, her equipment translating where it could. James had insisted on coming. Against protocol, against orders, against common sense. But Michael couldn't leave his brother behind, not when this might be their only chance. "Stay close," Michael told James. "We don't know what's stable down here." James nodded, holding his light steady. Armed guards surrounded them, weapons ready. If James showed any sign of danger, they had orders to act. They reached what looked like a central chamber. Massive computers lined the walls, their surfaces dark but humming with faint power. Emily approached the nearest terminal and placed her hand on it. The room exploded with light. Holographic images filled the air. At first, they showed nothing meaningful, just swirling colors and shapes. Then Emily's translation program kicked in, and the images resolved into something recognizable: a city. Beautiful and vast, with towers reaching toward the sky. Ships flew between buildings. Beings walked the streets, tall and elegant. The architects in their prime. "This is a recording," Emily breathed. "A historical archive." The image changed. Now it showed space. A ship approaching an architect world. The ship was small. Nothing compared to the architect fleet. But when it landed, everything changed. The beings that emerged from the ship looked different from any species Michael had seen. They moved with purpose, exploring the architect city with obvious curiosity. At first, the architects welcomed them. "Peaceful first contact," Emily narrated. The standard procedure, but the recording showed tension growing. The architects tested the newcomers, trying to understand them. When they scanned their minds, the machines reacted with alarm, just like the scanner had reacted to James. The architects called meetings. They argued among themselves. Michael could see fear spreading through their civilization. Fear of something they couldn't predict. Something their logic couldn't process. Then the recording showed the architects making a choice. They attacked. No, James whispered. The newcomers defended themselves. But their defense was unlike anything the architects expected. They didn't follow military doctrine. They didn't use standard tactics. Every battle was different. Every strategy unique. The architects couldn't predict them, couldn't counter them, couldn't defeat them. The war spread across star systems. Worlds burned. Civilizations fell. Both sides threw everything they had into the conflict. And in the end, both sides lost. The architects destroyed the newcomers. But the cost was so high that the architects themselves collapsed, leaving behind only ruins and warnings. The recording ended. The team stood in silence, processing what they had seen. Emily checked her instruments, her hands shaking slightly. "There's more," she said. "Audio files. Let me translate." She worked quickly. And soon, a voice filled the chamber. It spoke in the architect language, but Emily's program translated it to English. "We made a mistake. We saw something we didn't understand, and we feared it. We called it a threat before we knew if it truly was. The Paradox minds were explorers, not conquerors. They defended themselves only after we attacked. We forced them to become what we feared most." Another voice spoke. "Let this record serve as warning to whoever finds it. Fear of the unknown is the true threat. We destroyed ourselves through our own paranoia. If you encounter Paradox minds again, learn from our mistake. Seek understanding, not destruction." The recording fell silent. Michael looked at his brother. James's face showed a mixture of emotions. Relief, sadness, anger. "They attacked first," James said quietly. "The architects started the war, and then blamed the other species for defending themselves. History written by the fearful," Emily said. "They programmed their scanner to prevent it from happening again. But they programmed it with their fear, not their wisdom." Suddenly, alarms blared. The guards raised their weapons, looking around frantically. "Multiple contacts approaching," the lead guard reported. "Warships, large ones." Michael cursed and tapped his communicator. "Captain, we have incoming. 10 ships. Velcros military configuration." The navigator's voice was tight with tension. "They're charging weapons." Michael recognized the tactical situation immediately. Someone had followed them. Someone who didn't want this information getting out. "War Marshal Drek Nor," James said. He had heard about the militant faction leader who believed humans were a threat. "We need to leave." "Now," Michael ordered. The team ran back through the corridors. Behind them, the ruins began to shake. Something was targeting the structure, trying to collapse it before they could escape. They reached the shuttle just as the first blasts hit. Rock and metal rained down around them. The pilot didn't wait for proper clearance. The shuttle launched immediately, engines screaming. The Hawking moved to intercept, placing itself between the shuttle and Drek Nor's fleet. "Get me a channel to those ships," he ordered. The screen flickered, showing War Marshal Drek Nor. His scales were dark red, marking him as a warrior who had seen many battles. "Captain Park, you are interfering with authorized security operations," Drek Nor said. "Authorized by whom?" Michael challenged. "The Council gave us 24 hours. The Council is weak. They debate, while threats grow stronger. I will not make the architect's mistake of waiting too long." "You already made their mistake," James said, stepping into view of the camera. "You're attacking based on fear instead of facts." Drek Nor's eyes focused on James. "You are the threat." The scanner proved it. "The scanner proved nothing except that you don't understand me. Just like the architects didn't understand the species they destroyed." Michael squeezed his brother's shoulder, warning him to be careful. But James continued. We found their archives, Marshal. We know what happened. The architects attacked first. They started a war out of fear, and both sides lost everything. Is that what you want? Another war? That nobody wins? Better that than allowing humanity to spread unchecked. Then you'll have to go through me first, Michael said, and Earth's fleet, and every ally we've made. You'll start exactly the war you're afraid of. The standoff stretched. 10 Velcro's warships against one Earth research vessel? The fight would be short and brutal, but then other ships appeared. Praxi vessels, Antheri ships, even a few Morvian cruisers, species that believed in understanding over fear. They positioned themselves alongside the Hawking. Dreknor stared at the growing fleet. His tactical mind calculated odds. Even with surprise on his side, this was now a battle he couldn't win. This isn't over, he said. The Council will decide. And when they choose fear over foolishness, I will be ready. The Velcro's fleet withdrew. Michael let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Emily clutched the data drives containing the archive recordings. Vincent would need them for tomorrow's council session. James looked at the stars, at the ruins falling away behind them, at the ships that had come to their defense. The galaxy was watching. And tomorrow, they would learn the truth about the paradox minds, about fear and understanding, about the choice between repeating history or learning from it. James just hoped they made the right choice. The council chamber had never been so full. Every species sent their representatives. Every observer deck was packed. Broadcasts went out to thousands of worlds across the galaxy. This wasn't just a hearing anymore. It was a trial that would decide humanity's place among the stars. James sat in the center of the room, alone in a circle of light. Guards surrounded him at a distance. Above, the council members sat in a semicircle, looking down at him like judges passing sentence. Ambassador Vincent Kim stood at the speaker's platform. He had prepared for 3 hours, organizing his arguments, reviewing the evidence. Everything depended on the next few minutes. Honored Council, Vincent began. We come before you, not to make excuses, but to present truth. The truth about the architects. The truth about what happened 5,000 years ago. And the truth about humanity. Representative Thex leaned forward. We have heard enough human arguments. Show us proof, or accept the consequences. Vincent nodded to Emily. She activated the holographic display, and the council chamber filled with images from the architect archives. The peaceful first contact. The growing fear. The first attack. The war that destroyed both civilizations. The council watched in silence. When the architect's final message played, admitting their mistake, several representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The architects were wrong, Vincent said quietly. They saw something different and assumed it was dangerous. They attacked first and justified it later. Both civilizations paid the price. That proves our point, Thex said. The paradox minds were dangerous. They destroyed the architects. Then, they defended themselves, Vincent corrected. There's a difference. A difference that cost the architects everything. Chair Elix Ander raised his hand for silence. His ancient voice filled the chamber. The archives show us the past, but they do not tell us about the present. Ambassador Kim, can you prove that humans will not become what the architects feared? Vincent took a deep breath. This was the moment he had been preparing for. I can't prove what humans won't become, but I can show you what we are. Chair, I request permission for a demonstration. Murmurs spread through the council. Alexander's crystalline features reflected the chamber lights. What kind of demonstration? Alexander's. What die? Alexander's. Alexander's. What kind of demonstration? James Park and 5 volunteer cadets from different species will face simulation scenarios. Real situations that Academy graduates might encounter. Let the council see how humans think and act under pressure. Thex stood up. This is meaningless. We know humans are unpredictable. That's precisely the problem. Then let us show you what unpredictability really means, Vincent said. Not chaos, not danger, but adaptation. The council debated for 20 minutes. Finally, they agreed. 5 alien cadets volunteered, including a Velcros warrior named Rax and an Antheri collective unit named Harmony. They gathered in the simulation chamber below the council, visible on screens throughout the chamber above. Admiral Sarah Park watched from Earth's observation deck. She had arrived on the fastest ship available, determined to see this through. She was James's mother. But right now she wore her uniform as Earth's chief military strategist. Her testimony would come later. But first, she needed to see if her son could prove humanity's worth. The first simulation began. A ship malfunction. Critical systems failing. Oxygen running low. 6 people trapped inside. Standard Academy training covered this scenario. There was a protocol, a sequence of steps that would stabilize the ship and keep everyone alive. The protocol took 6 minutes. The alien cadets started working immediately, following the steps they had memorized. Check the power core. Reroute emergency systems. Seal the breach. Each action flowed into the next, precise and efficient. James approached the problem differently. He looked at the damage, at the available resources, at the positions of his teammates. Then he started giving orders that made no sense according to the protocol. Harmony. Ignore the power core. Pull the emergency batteries instead. Rax. Don't seal that breach. Seal the smaller one behind it. The alien cadets hesitated. This wasn't the protocol. But something in James's voice made them listen. Within 3 minutes, the ship was stable. Oxygen was flowing. Everyone was safe. The alien cadets stared at James in confusion. How? Harmony asked, her silver form flickering with surprise. The protocol assumes we have time, James explained. We didn't, so I looked for the fastest solution, not the correct one. In the council chamber, representatives leaned forward, studying the data. James had solved the problem in half the time, but he had broken every rule doing it. Dangerous, Thex muttered. He ignores established procedures. He saves lives, a proxy representative countered. The second simulation was diplomatic. First contact with a new species. The standard approach was careful and measured. Establish communication. Exchange information. Build trust, slowly over days or weeks. James walked into the simulation and immediately did something unexpected. He sat down on the ground, making himself smaller, less threatening. Then he pulled out rations from his pack and started eating, offering some to the simulated aliens. The alien cadets stood awkwardly, unsure what to do. The protocol didn't cover this, but the simulated aliens responded. They approached James cautiously, curious about this strange behavior. Within minutes, they were sitting together, sharing food, establishing basic communication through gestures and expressions. Unorthodox, Alexander observed. But effective. Too risky, Thex argued. What if the new species was hostile? Vincent spoke up. Then James would have adapted. That's the point. He reads the situation and responds appropriately. Not according to fixed rules. I may be across. The third simulation was combat. Hostile forces attacking. Civilians to protect. Limited ammunition. The alien cadets formed a defensive perimeter according to military doctrine, preparing to hold their position. James did something different. He analyzed the terrain, the enemy positions, the civilian locations. Rax. Take 2 cadets and make noise on the left flank. Make them think we're attacking. Harmony. Protect the civilians. I'll take the rest and circle behind. That divides our forces, Rax protested. Standard doctrine says. Protected. Standard doctrine gets us killed, James said. Trust me. They did, and the simulation ended in 2 minutes with all civilians safe and enemy forces neutralized. 0 casualties. The council chamber was silent. Representative after representative reviewed the data, compared the results. James had succeeded in every scenario, but none of his solutions matched academy training. "This proves nothing," Thex said, though his voice carried less certainty now. "One human performing well in simulations. Then let me volunteer," a voice called out. Everyone turned. Thomas Walker stepped forward from the crowd of observers. He was another human, someone who had applied to the academy but hadn't been selected because Earth could only send one candidate. "I'm not trained like James," Thomas said. "I'm just an engineer from Mars colony. But I'm human. Test me too." Vincent wanted to stop him, but Admiral Sarah stood up. "Test him," she said. "Test any human you want. The results will be the same." The council agreed. Thomas went through the scanner. The same red lights, the same alarms, the same undefined threat warning. Then he went through the simulations. His methods were different from James's, but the pattern was the same. Adaptive, unpredictable, effective. "This is what you fear," Sarah said, standing at the speaker's platform now. "Not that humans are violent or hostile, but that we don't follow your rules, your protocols, your understanding of how minds should work." She pulled up data on her screen. "Let me tell you about Earth. Our planet has extreme weather, deadly predators, diseases that evolve faster than we can cure them, natural disasters without warning. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day." The council listened. "We survived by being adaptable, by finding new solutions when old ones failed, by trusting our instincts when logic wasn't fast enough. Our brains don't follow fixed pathways because fixed pathways get you killed on Earth." She looked directly at Thex. "You're right to be cautious, but you're wrong to be afraid. Humans aren't dangerous because we're unpredictable. We're survivors because we're adaptable. There's a difference." Thex stood silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "The architects said the same thing. They called the paradox minds explorers. But still, both civilizations died. Because the architects attacked first," Vincent said. "They turned explorers into enemies. They created the very threat they feared." "And if we do nothing?" Thex asked. "If we welcome humans fully into the galaxy? What happens when they grow stronger? When they spread across more worlds? When their unpredictability affects all of us?" Chair Alexander stood. His ancient body moved slowly, but his voice carried power. "Representative Thex asks a fair question. One I can answer." The chamber fell silent. "My species once had fixed minds," Alexander said. "We thought in pure logic, in calculated steps. It served us well for millions of years. Then, our sun began to die." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "Our fixed minds told us to follow procedure, to calculate solutions using established methods. But the methods weren't fast enough. Our world was dying, and logic was too slow to save us." Alexander looked at James. "One of my people did something unprecedented. She ignored the calculations and followed an instinct. She made a choice that broke every scientific principle we understood. And it worked. She saved our species." He turned to the council. "That individual had a paradox mind. She evolved it through desperation, through necessity. It cost her life, but it saved ours. Since then, my species has honored her choice by accepting that there are different ways to think, different ways to solve problems." Alexander's gaze swept across the entire chamber. "Humans did not choose to have paradox minds. Evolution chose for them, just as it chose for my ancestor. To condemn them, for it is to condemn survival itself." The council chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives argued, debated, voted. Hours passed. James sat in his circle of light, exhausted, waiting. Finally, Alexander called for order. "The council has decided. By a vote of 32 to 15, we accept humanity's application to the Galactic Defense Academy." The scanner will be recalibrated to recognize paradox patterns as valid, not threatening. James felt his knees weaken with relief. In the observation deck, Lisa and Marcus embraced. Vincent closed his eyes and breathed deeply. End one. But Elixander wasn't finished. However, humanity will be monitored closely for the next 10 cycles. Any sign of aggression will result in immediate expulsion. We extend our hand in welcome, but we remain watchful. That's all we ask, Vincent said. As the council dismissed, Thex approached Vincent privately. I still have doubts, he said quietly. But I will not repeat the architect's mistake of attacking what I don't understand. I hope your species proves me wrong. Well, day. Well, day. We will, Vincent promised. James finally left his circle of light. Sarah was there, pulling him into a rare embrace. You did well, she said. I just did what felt right. That's what humans do, she said with a small smile. Now let's see if the galaxy can learn to appreciate it. 6 months had passed since the Council's decision. The Academy felt different now. Human cadets walked the corridors alongside aliens. 50 humans had joined this cycle, the largest intake from any new species in Academy history. The scanner processed each one without alarms, its programming updated to accept what it once feared. James Park stood with his graduating class on the main platform. 350 cadets in total, representing 23 species. He wore his uniform with pride, the Academy insignia gleaming on his chest. After everything that happened, he had made it. The ceremony hall was packed. Families traveled from across the galaxy to watch their children graduate. James's mother, Admiral Sarah Park, sat in the front row. His brother Michael was there too, along with Lisa, Marcus, David, and Emily. Even Vincent had come, taking a rare break from diplomatic duties. In the alien sections, James recognized faces. Dr. Rachel Kim, the Antheri researcher who had studied him so carefully. Admiral Kevrath, who now taught advanced tactics at the Academy. Even Representative Thex sat in the council section, his expression unreadable. Commander Marcus Kim stood at the podium. He had been promoted to Academy instructor 3 months ago, the first human to hold a teaching position. His role was to help bridge the gap between human thinking and alien military doctrine. Today we celebrate not just graduation, Marcus said, his voice carrying across the hall, but evolution. Not biological evolution, but the evolution of understanding. He looked at the assembled cadets. 6 months ago, this academy faced a crisis. A scanner that worked perfectly for 3,000 years suddenly found something it couldn't process. We could have responded with fear. Many wanted to. Instead, we chose to understand. Marcus gestured to James. Cadet Park, please step forward. James walked to the center of the platform, his heart pounding. He hadn't known this was coming. Cadet Park faced suspicion, fear, and isolation, Marcus continued. He could have responded with anger. Instead, he responded with patience. He showed us that being different doesn't mean being dangerous. Kevrath stood and approached the platform. The Velcros Admiral moved with military precision. He stopped in front of James and saluted. 6 months ago, I thought you were a threat, Kevrath said. His voice was gruff but honest. I was wrong. You taught me that a warrior's greatest weapon isn't strength or tactics, it's adaptability. He pinned a special commendation to James's uniform. The Academy recognizes Cadet Park for exceptional service under extraordinary circumstances. The hall erupted in applause. Not just humans cheering, but aliens from every species. James stood there, overwhelmed, trying not to show how much this moment meant to him. But the ceremony wasn't over. Cadet Park's achievements extend beyond personal recognition, Marcus said. Upon graduation, he will take command of the Endeavour, humanity's first deep space exploration vessel. His crew will consist of volunteers from 7 different species, James felt shock ripple through him. Command of his own ship? He hadn't expected that. The Endeavor's mission is to explore uncharted space and represent the Academy's new philosophy, Marcus explained. Not military expansion, not territorial conquest. Exploration and cooperation. As the ceremony continued, Lisa watched from the crowd with satisfaction. Her research into human neural patterns had revolutionized the field. 3 universities now offered courses in adaptive cognition. Scientists from multiple species studied how human problem-solving could be integrated with their own methods. The Velcros military had been particularly interested. They sent observers to study human combat instructors, not to copy human tactics, but to understand how unpredictability could be incorporated into their rigid battle doctrines. Rax, the Velcros cadet who had worked with James in the simulations, now led those efforts. The Antheri had taken a different approach. Their collective consciousness experimented with introducing controlled randomness into their decision-making processes. Early results were promising. Group efficiency had improved by 12%. Even the Morvians, who valued pure mathematics above all else, had discovered something interesting. Human instinct wasn't actually random. It was based on pattern recognition happening faster than conscious thought. They were developing algorithms to simulate this process. After the ceremony, graduates gathered in the reception hall. Species mixed together, sharing stories and making plans. James found himself surrounded by his future crew. Captain Park, said a small alien with bright orange skin. Her name was Pip, a praxi engineer. I've been analyzing the Endeavor's systems. I have some modifications to suggest. The Endeavor is brand new, James said with a smile. What modifications could it need? Your human ships include redundant safety systems. 7 layers of protection for critical functions. Very logical, but also heavy and slow. Pip's eyes gleamed with excitement. If we remove 3 layers and add adaptive response protocols instead, we increase speed by 15%. Removing safety systems sounds risky. That's what makes it perfect for a human captain. You adapt to problems instead of preventing every possibility. James laughed. 6 months ago, that would have been an insult. Now, it was a compliment. Across the hall, Thomas Walker received his own assignment. He would lead an engineering team, helping to rebuild infrastructure on struggling colony worlds. His unique problem-solving approach had impressed the instructors. 47 human graduates, Thomas said to James later. And every single one got meaningful assignments. We're really doing this. We're really doing this, James agreed. Admiral Sarah found her son in the crowd. She pulled him aside, her expression serious, despite the celebration around them. I'm proud of you, she said. But I need you to understand something. The galaxy is watching humanity now. Every action we take will be judged. Every mistake will be analyzed. I know, Mom. Do you? Because this isn't just about you anymore. 50 humans graduated today. 500 more are in training. In 10 years, there will be thousands of us spread across the galaxy. We have to prove that the Council made the right choice. James nodded solemnly. We will. Not by being perfect, but by being honest. By adapting when we make mistakes, instead of hiding them. Sarah smiled slightly. I learned that being human is enough. We don't have to be like other species. We just have to be ourselves. Across the hall, Rebecca Kim received congratulations from her family. She was one of the new human cadets, just beginning her academy journey. She had watched the ceremony with determination, knowing the path ahead wouldn't be easy. Representative Thex approached her. Rebecca tensed, remembering how Thex had argued against humanity. Cadet Kim, Thex said formally. I wanted to speak with you. Sir, I opposed humanity's admission to the academy. I believed you represented a threat. Thex's expression softened slightly. I was wrong. Our manity. The past 6 months have shown me that different doesn't mean dangerous. I wanted you to know that I will work to ensure future human cadets receive fair treatment. Rebecca bowed respectfully. Thank you, sir. That means a lot. As night fell on the station, James stood at an observation window, looking out at the stars. Tomorrow he would board the Endeavour and begin his mission. Tomorrow humanity's real test would begin. Lisa found him there. Thinking deep thoughts, wondering if we're ready, James admitted. The Council is watching us. The whole galaxy is watching us. What if we mess up? Then you'll adapt, Lisa said simply. That's what humans do. We mess up, learn, and try something different. And if that's not enough, Lisa pointed at the graduation hall behind them, where dozens of species celebrated together. 6 months ago, they wanted to quarantine you. Now they're asking humans to teach at their universities, lead their exploration vessels, redesign their systems. You already changed the galaxy, James. You just don't realize it yet. She was right. The change was subtle, but real. Alien military academies were revising their training protocols. Research institutes were studying human cognition. Even the scanner, the device that started everything, had become a symbol not of fear, but of understanding. The next morning, James boarded the Endeavour. His crew was already aboard, making final preparations. 7 species working together, each bringing their unique perspectives. As the ship prepared to depart, Admiral Kevrath sent a final message. Captain Park, your mission is exploration, not expansion. Discovery, not conquest. Show the galaxy what humanity truly represents. Understood, Admiral. The Endeavour's engines hummed to life. James sat in the captain's chair, feeling the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. Navigator, set course for the Helix Nebula. Science team, begin long-range scans. Engineering, I want full diagnostics before we jump. His crew responded immediately, their voices blending together. Human and alien working as one. As the Endeavour moved away from the station, James looked at his crew. Pip was already suggesting engine modifications. A Morvian mathematician was calculating optimal routes. A Velcros warrior was checking defensive systems, but now with human-taught flexibility in mind. Captain, the communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission. Audio only. It's unusual. Put it through. Static filled the bridge, then cleared into a pattern of sounds. Not words, but something else. A sequence that didn't match any known language. It's coming from deep space, the science officer reported. Beyond charted territories. James felt that familiar sensation. The instinct that had guided him through every challenge. Something important was happening. Can you locate the source? Approximately. It's in the direction we're already heading. The crew looked at James, waiting for his decision. This wasn't part of their mission. They could report it and continue their planned exploration. Standard procedure would be to wait for a specialized team, but James was human. And humans didn't always follow standard procedure. Adjust course. Let's investigate. As the Endeavour changed direction, heading toward the mysterious signal, James realized something profound. The scanner had been right all along. Humans were unpredictable. They were paradoxes. They operated on principles that defied simple categorization. But that wasn't a weakness. It was exactly what the galaxy needed. Behind them, Station Meridian 7 grew smaller. The Academy continued its work, training the next generation of defenders. The scanner processed new cadets, now calibrated to accept the full diversity of galactic minds. And on Earth, thousands of young people prepared their applications, dreaming of the stars, ready to show the galaxy what humanity could achieve. The great silence that had haunted the architects was ending. Not with conquest or conflict, but with cooperation. Not with uniformity, but with diversity. James looked at the view screen showing the mysterious signal's location. Unknown space. Undiscovered possibilities. The kind of challenge that humans were built for. All stations report ready, Captain, his first officer said. James smiled. Then let's see what's out there. The galaxy is watching. The Endeavour jumped to faster than light speed, carrying humanity's hopes and dreams into the unknown. Behind them, a galaxy that had feared a difference was learning to celebrate it. Ahead of them, mysteries waited to be solved by minds that refused to think inside expected patterns. The scanner had approved every cadet, then halted on the human. Now, the galaxy understood why. Not because humans were threats, but because they were something the galaxy had forgotten how to be. They were explorers, adapters, survivors. They were human, and the galaxy would never be the same.